Hello everyone! How has the intense blazing heat of summer been hitting your place? Why don't we put on our thickest outfits and venture together to explore what secrets the coldest continents might hold? The South Pole is known as the coldest place on the planet, with a record low temperature of negative 93.3 degrees Celsius, while the North Pole's record low is negative 69.6. Everyone knows the South Pole is freezing, but not everyone knows why. While it's winter in the southern hemisphere, the sun doesn't rise above the horizon. Without sunlight for 6 months, the South Pole becomes extremely cold. And in the summer, from October to March, the Antarctic continent faces the sun and is bathed in light for 6 months, but the temperature doesn't get much warmer. That is because, at the equator, sunlight strikes the Earth at a steep angle, penetrating the atmosphere directly. Whereas at the poles, sunlight strikes at oblique angles, having to pass through a thicker layer of the atmosphere and spread over a larger area. Consequently, the poles receive less sunlight compared to other places on Earth. Just like us, a small channel from nowhere receives very little attention, so please take a moment and hit that like button and subscribe. It would mean the world to us. So why then is the South Pole significantly colder than the North? The answer lies in the geographical structure. First, the South Pole is significantly higher. The South Pole has an average elevation of about 2,500 yards above sea level, while the North Pole is largely ocean, covered by sea ice only a few feet thick. The thick ice of Antarctica acts like a giant mirror, reflecting a significant amount of sunlight back into space, making the already cold area even colder. Moreover, the sea ice at the North Pole is thinner and more mobile, therefore reflecting less sunlight. On top of that, we also know that the higher you go, the colder it gets. Secondly, the South Pole is a vast, isolated continent surrounded by 5 oceans. The ocean currents around Antarctica act as an insulating barrier, preventing warmer waters from intruding onto the continent and limiting heat exchange between Antarctica and the rest of the world. In contrast, the North Pole is an ocean surrounded by land, and the warmer waters of the Atlantic underneath can influence its climate. Antarctica holds up to 90% of the Earth's ice, existing as a massive eternal ice sheet about 5.4 million square miles in size, nearly double the size of Australia, and more than 21 times the size of Texas. Snow falls and compresses into ice over millennia, creating an ice sheet averaging 7,087 feet thick, with the thickest part reaching 15,700 feet. Imagine a giant ice cube the size of Washington State. To give you some perspective, if all the ice in Antarctica melted, it would raise global sea levels by up to 200 feet, enough to submerge most coastal cities and low-lying areas around the world, including Florida, Louisiana, and a large portion of Carolinas and Virginia. Another unique attribute of Antarctica is that it holds the record for the windiest continent on Earth, with wind speeds reaching up to 200 miles per hour, nearly 3 times that of a Category 12 hurricane. For these reasons, this frozen kingdom has no permanent residents, only brave explorers and dedicated scientists. One of the bizarre phenomena not to be missed when talking about Antarctica is blood falls, a red-stained waterfall in Taylor Glacier, one of the harshest and almost lifeless places on Earth. Since geologist Griffith Taylor discovered it in 1911, many hypotheses have been proposed about the origin of the red water. Initially, it was thought that the red color was due to algae, but science later proved it was due to oxidized iron. Water flows through the cracks of glaciers, which is super salty and iron-rich. It dissolves and carries these elements. When it comes into contact with oxygen, the iron rusts react and create the characteristic red color, not as spooky as you might expect. Besides bleeding, the glaciers in Antarctica can also sing too.
Really, nigga?
However, this isn't the singing you often hear. The singing glacier phenomenon observed on the Ross Ice Shelf, one of the largest ice shelves in the world, roughly the size of France. Imagine being greeted by a 70-meter-high ice wall stretching 800 miles. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Most of the Ross Ice Shelf lies beneath the dark and cold ocean. From 2014 to 2017, researchers discovered vibrations with a frequency of about 5 Hz, too low for human ears to capture. Using seismic sensors, they recorded sounds resembling haunting and melancholic music. Interestingly, this music changes when storms alter the position of a snow dune or when the ice melts excessively. Sorry to burst your bubble, this isn't some supernatural or psychological phenomenon. Researchers concluded that when ferocious winds blow across the rough surface of the Ross ice shelf, they cause the top snow layer to vibrate, creating what sounds like a ghostly song. When you look at the lines of longitude on Earth, time zones are divided every 15 degrees. Sometimes they get distorted or go completely wonky at national borders. But if the lines of longitude mark the time zones and they all converge at the poles, here's a riddle for you. What time is it at the South Pole? Because the South Pole doesn't have permanent residents, this might not seem like a real issue. But let's say it was. How would you calculate the time in a place that is both all time zones and no time zone at all? If anyone knows the answer, drop a comment below and enlighten me. Besides, you may not know at the South Pole, every direction is north and likewise. Surprisingly, despite holding 60% of the planet's fresh water in a fortress of ice, Antarctica is still the largest desert in the world. Hold on a second. Although when you think of a desert, you might picture endless scorching dunes. But deserts are actually classified by the amount of annual rainfall they receive. And the average annual rainfall in Antarctica over the past 30 years is just over 0.4 inches. For perspective, the US receives about 30 inches of rain annually. It's hard to imagine that Antarctica was once a temperate, lush paradise. But indeed, scientists have found fossilized leaves and wood from the Triassic and Jurassic periods, indicating that Antarctica used to be covered in tropical forests and teeming with lives 150 to 248 million years ago. But is Antarctica truly as desolate as it seems? Many people don't think so. They believe that beneath the thick ice lies a bustling world full of all weird kinds of life, from dinosaurs to aliens and even Nazis. Welcome to the wild tales of Antarctica. One of the biggest mysteries of Antarctica is an ancient map illustrating the current ice-covered continent without any ice thousands of years ago.
What?
Yeah, you heard it right. Thousands, not tens of millions. We're talking about the Piri Reis map, created by the Turkish admiral of the same name in 1513. It's actually a compilation of many older maps, most of which have been lost. More importantly, though, it depicts an Antarctica completely ice-free. The appearance of the Piri Reis map has sparked many speculations, including the possibility of a civilization existing on this land. Antarctica has often been hinted as a potential candidate for the legendary city of Atlantis, a wealthy and powerful city that mysteriously vanished. However, modern data on the ice core confirms that Antarctica has been continuously covered by ice for over 1 million years, long before humans appeared on Earth. Additionally, in 2016, some satellite images from Google circulated online, depicting pyramid-like structures emerging from Antarctica. Subsequently, several satellites captured the presence of large square-based structures in this polar region. They are described with sides about 1.2 miles long. This discovery sparked a wave of online debates, with many claiming that the Illuminati built these massive structures and then covered them up. Others assert that these structures are evidence of an ancient civilization in Antarctica. In response to this excitement, geologists pointed out that they are just regular mountain peaks, slightly pointy, and caused by strong erosion from glaciers converging at a central point. In reality, pyramid-shaped mountain peaks are quite common, such as the Matterhorn in the Alps or whatever that called in Iceland. And this certainly isn't the end of the floating myths about Antarctica. Some conspiracy theories suggest that it is the gateway to a massive underground alien base or an inner Earth world. This conspiracy theory started in 2006 when NASA satellites detected gravitational anomalies here, suggesting the presence of a massive object buried in a crater 300 miles wide, big enough to fit the entire state of Ohio. This anomaly, buried under 875 yards of ice, is known as the Wilkes Land Gravity Anomaly, centered in the northern part of Wilkes Land, Antarctica. To this day, scientists have no way to precisely explore what lies deep beneath this icy crater. But they suspect that this massive anomaly is the remnants of a catastrophic impact event, with a force greater than the Chicxulub impact that wiped out the dinosaurs. After all these wild tales, the idea of Antarctica being a secret Nazi base sounds almost believable. On July 30th, 2023, a Facebook user claimed to have accidentally discovered a Nazi bunker after finding something resembling a mysterious door hidden in Antarctica on Google Maps. This image reignited a popular internet conspiracy theory that surviving Nazi soldiers sought refuge for a military base on the icy continent after World War II. The foundation of this theory is partly based on truth. In 1938, Hitler sent a German expedition to Antarctica in search of whale oil. This expedition sparked debates among conspiracy theorists. Some suggest that the war criminals built a massive military base under the ice during their month-long expedition to serve as a haven for elite Nazi officials after the war. While many people look for it eagerly, some skeptics think it's just a hole in the ice, a slightly neat one. And that's all. Plus, Nazi remnants must have been pretty desperate to choose to hide in Antarctica, a freezing place with nothing to eat. Do you have any more conspiracy theories about the Antarctic continent? Feel free to share in the comments section. Remember to like and subscribe to stay on top of our cool content about the world. Until next time, stay curious and goodbye.